guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back and visiting with me. It is the 2nd of February and I wanted to take today's video to show you guys what I want to read in the month of February. So I've got a list of my own books that I'm currently reading and then a list that I want to read in February. But I've also got a very exciting list of other books here with me and I am so excited to share that with you guys. So if you don't know, JD Ray Reads, I watch her channel every time she comes out with a video, and she has created this readathon called Polarthon. And Polarthon is so creative of her. She loves polar fantasy. And this readathon is based off of certain tropes and certain things that are usually present in a polar fantasy. She has created a list of prompts that we can choose from, and it's very cool. It's a map all the way up to a polar fantasy book, and I will try my best to put her prompt here, new to editing, so we'll see how that works. And I'll tell you what my plan is to make it all the way up through the map. So I'll do that first before I get into my TBR, because I'm so excited about this. And I'm using this Polarthon to get back into middle grade fantasy. I have been sticking to YA fantasy and adult fantasy for the most part recently. And I know that middle grade fantasy has such good content and I want to get back into that. And after reading the Winter Night trilogy, which I think I'm going to do a review on later on this week, but after the Winter Night trilogy, I want so much more of that. I want more folklore and I want more wintry setting and icy magic. I just want all of the polar fantasy. So here's the list I have. The first prompt that I have chosen is a cold word in the title. And I picked up Hearts of Ice by Adi Rule. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this was in the middle grade section of Barnes & Noble. And when I looked at it, it immediately gave me Frozen vibes. And of course, I love Frozen. I love anything with a sisterly relationship. I have a younger sister and we're very close. So anything with sisterly relationships just always tugs on my heartstrings. So I picked this up. Obviously it has ice in the title and the whole cover is just a wintry setting. And I can see that there's some magic going on here as well. There are two sisters who were raised in completely different realms. And our protagonist, Evangeline, one of the sisters, one night wakes up to her window open and the snow has blown in and there's a word written in the snow that says help. And through certain circumstances, she realizes that she has a long lost sister and she goes on a journey to try and protect her sister from harm. So this just sounds incredibly whimsical, and obviously the setting and the magic, I'm guessing they have some ice magic. And I love the sister relationship as well. So I'm super excited to get into this. This does not look like it's going to take me any time at all. I could probably put it as the book in one day category as well, but it also has a cold word in the title. I went up and over in the map, and the next prompt is Furry Friend. I picked up Anya and the Dragon. Now, this seriously sounds a lot like the Winter Night trilogy. I think it has a lot of the same culture and folklore and mythology in this as the Winter Night trilogy has, which makes me all the more excited. And there's a dragon, so I am gonna love this, I already know. From what it sounds like, Anya lives in a very small town, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they find that in their local river or lake, a huge dragon is living there and has taken over. Anya's family encourages her to stay out of the way. They don't want her getting in any trouble, and they're also not very well off. She has made this deal with the government in her town that if she can catch this dragon, they will reward her with money. She decides to go on this adventure and to catch this dragon, and along the way, the Russian folklore gives us several friends for Anya to support her and be there by her side. I have heard of a goat. I think maybe even the dragon will end up being more than we suspect. And there are several cherti, which is the Russian creatures. There's a domovoi in her house as well. So several furry friends, dragon, magic, Russian folklore. I'm here for it. I'm so excited. The next prompt is a book that is heartwarming. And I have seen this book on so many booktube channels. I saw this book first on the channel A Frolic Through Fiction. I've sat here so many times trying to say A Frolic Through Fiction. Guys, it's hard. It's difficult. I saw this on her channel first, and I'll link it in the description. She is amazing. But that book is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. Everything about this book just makes me smile, and it feels like it's truly going to be a heartwarming read. It also seems like it's got a little bit of Russian folklore in it. There is a young girl who seems to have a lot of inhuman companions around her. Her house has chicken legs, but she is craving that human connection. She wants a real friend. But unfortunately, she travels all over the world with her grandmother, who happens to be the woman who guides people from life into the afterlife. She does not have the same upbringing as other children. She wants a sense of normalcy and friends and time to just be young and play, but her life is very, very different from others. It sounds like she might have to make some sacrifices and go on a journey to find what she truly wants. And I have a feeling that this book is just going to be one that I remember for a long time. It seems very powerful. So I'm really excited to get into this. The last prompt, well, I say last prompt because unfortunately I am going to have to double up. I don't want to do this because I know that she created these prompts to be 5 in a row. But I am a teacher. I teach 12 hours a day, and I love that, but I am going to double up on my last prompt. So the 2 that I'm going to connect are Snowy Setting and Polar Fantasy. And for those 2 prompts, I picked up Ice Wolves by Amy Kaufman. First of all, this cover looks incredible. Like immediately when I saw this cover, I had to pick it up. I love the eerie wolf in the background, and it's set in a snowstorm, so it seems like a chaotic moment, and I was really interested in the cover. This was almost a cover buy for me, but just to make sure it fulfilled the prompts, I made sure. And obviously it's in a snowy setting, and we've got ice wolves. This book features a set of twins that's born into a family that is supposed to be able to shapeshift into ice wolves. Once they come into their power, their shapeshifting power, they find that one shapeshifts into an ice wolf and the other shapeshifts into a scorch dragon. These 2 creatures have completely separate existences. They live on the opposite sides of the valley and they do not associate with each other. But these twins find themselves on both sides. One is an ice wolf and the other is a scorch dragon. So they start to question their family roots. When one sibling is kidnapped by the scorched dragons, the other has to find a way to save his sister. And I have a feeling that this is going to be incredibly uplifting and heartwarming because I feel like it's going to be found family. Blood isn't always what makes a family, and I cannot wait to get into this and to see the shape-shifting and the friendships and that sibling bond that has to overcome all of these odds. So I'm so excited to make this my official Polar Fantasy for the week, and this video is going up on the 3rd, but by now I will have already started my Hearts of Ice, so hopefully I will fly through this and get on through the next prompt. I'm so excited for the Polar Fantasy. I'm gonna link JD Ray Reed's channel below. She is absolutely wonderful. I watch all of her videos. Now that we've gotten through my picks for the Polarthon, I want to get into my personal TBR for the month of February. Now, this is going to be a little bit different because while I am also doing the Polarthon, I am also doing 3 buddy reads with my students. We are going through an independent reading unit, and I wanted to give them the chance to search for a book that they would be interested in reading with me. So out of all my 140 students, I'm going to try to narrow it down to 3 books. I will read all 3, and they will choose one of the 3 books to read with me in the month of February. I think it's going to be so much fun. We're going to have discussions and we'll review, and at the end of the month, hopefully in my wrap-up video, I will be able to talk about some of their thoughts and even what they liked and what they didn't like about these books. So I'm very excited. So I won't know those 3 books until later on this week. I will post a quick video later on in the week to tell you guys the 3 books that my students chose, but I'm really excited for that. After those 3 books are chosen, this list is what I want to get to for my own personal TBR. First, I would like to pick up Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I have only ever read one Frederick Bachman, but again, Murphy Napier, she has inspired me to pick up Beartown. I know that this is a very, very heavy read and can be intimidating, and there are a lot of trigger warnings for rape and sexual assault. But I stay away from contemporary because I find it to be almost too light. It doesn't really feel like a lot of the contemporary has anything worth remembering. But this kind of story, a contemporary with a true message and heavy topics, I really can get into. I know that this is one of Murphy's favorite books, so I'm going to pick it up and see how I like it. And again, I'll link Murphy's channel down below. She inspires a lot of my TBR most of the time. Thanks, Murphy. The second book that I want to pick up and has been on my TBR for weeks and weeks now is The Lies of Locke, Lamora by Scott Lynch. I know that this book has been flying through BookTube for the past month or so. Everybody has been picking it up, and I want to get on that hype train. I don't think I've heard anything bad about this series at all. I do love a good heist story, and I love when friendships are written well and when they have to go through difficult situations like stealing a lot of money and they stick together. And I've heard that this has amazing friendships, so I'm really excited to get into this. I've actually already started reading chapter 1. I picked it up 2 weeks ago and just read the first chapter, and I'm already in love with the writing style. It's very witty and it's very dry humor, which I am a huge fan of, so I cannot wait to continue with Lies of Locke, Lamora. And this is what I am currently reading right now. I am about that far into Brandon Sanderson's Warbreaker. I finished Mistborn Era 1 in January, if you saw from my last video, and I was wondering what Sanderson I should pick up next. I didn't know if I should immediately go into the Stormlight Archive and just jump into his epic high fantasy series. I found that to be a little intimidating since Mistborn was my first Sanderson, so I figured that since the 4th Stormlight Archive isn't coming out until November, I have some time to read the first 3. So until then, I picked up Warbreaker, and I'm loving it. I mean, Brandon Sanderson's magic is so creative, and it's so mind-blowing how he makes it all work together so well. And like the rules of his magic systems make it seem so realistic that like I am in this world and I can use this magic because it's so realistic. I wish I cannot. The magic system in itself, it's so hard to explain to someone who hasn't just picked up the book, but it has to do with color and sound and also life-giving breath. So it is very, very interesting. And what we are following are 2 sisters. One who was groomed to marry the God King, to create peace between the realm of the God King and her kingdom. The other sister has never really had a place. She is just the younger sister who is a princess, basically. And when it is time for the older sister to be married off to the God King, at the last minute, their father decides to send the younger sister, who has no training whatsoever. She has no idea what she's getting into. She's never left her kingdom before. So she is thrown into this situation with no preparation, and she has to figure it out on her own. It's so great so far, and I can't wait to finish this up and give you guys a review at the end of February. The next book that I am currently reading is The Wicked King by Holly Black. I finished The Cruel Prince in January, and I moved on to The Wicked King. I'm not very far into it. I think I'm only about 60 pages in so far, and I'm not incredibly impressed. I feel like what I have right now is a lot of buildup, but I don't want to say anything yet because I know I'm not very far into it. I have heard so many good things about this book, so I'm just going to wait and tell you guys my opinion at the wrap up at the end of the month, because maybe I will love this second book. We'll see. Maybe I will start to like it very soon. I'll let you know. The next book I am currently reading is the third in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and it is The Dragon Reborn. I am really enjoying this book. I feel like there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more action than in The Great Hunt, the second one in the series. And the character development also is just incredible. And I feel like we're getting a lot more detail into the characters than we were in other books. Matt, we're getting a lot more into Matt, and there's some mysteries going on with Matt that I'm excited to find out about. Like, something's going down. The Aes Sedai, we are there a lot more often than we were during the Great Hunt, so I'm excited to see that. Rand is not as present in this book than he was in the Great Hunt, which surprisingly I'm okay with. He was present more toward the beginning, but he was starting to kind of derail, and I have a feeling that he is just off somewhere going to the dark side where they have cookies. I don't know. I just feel like Rand's, he's off somewhere having a really hard time. So I'm sure I'm going to see him soon. I'm only about this far into Dragon Reborn, and I'm hoping to finish it within the next week or so. So I'll let you guys know. All right, and the couple of books that I haven't started reading yet, the first is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I know that this book has been all over BookTube. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it reviewed. I know people love it so much, which is exactly why I wanted to pick it up. I have heard that this is very dark and can get gruesome and almost grim dark at some times, but I am okay with that. I don't mind a little bit of grim dark as long as it's done well. And it's also got so many tropes that I just love about the fantasy genre. It's a girl who is a peasant at first and works her way up and finds out that she has more power than she originally thought. So I have a feeling that all of the tropes put together, and it's got a school setting too. So I have a feeling that all of these tropes put together is going to make for an amazing read. So I'm going to pick this up within the next few days, maybe after Polarthon, and I know I'm going to love it. And then the last book that I want to pick up in February is Sword of Destiny by Andrew Sapkowski. This is the second collection of short stories in the Witcher series before book one, which is The Blood of Elves. I finished The Last Wish fairly recently, and I am very ready to get started with Sword of Destiny. I like that the background is given in these short stories, and then we can get into the actual novel, which has like an overarching story. But I like that they're giving us a lot of the background with the characters and the culture and the world, and especially Geralt. Like, we're getting so much insight into his character, and I think that's going to help so much when we start book one, Blood of Elves. All right, guys, that is my February TBR, including the Polarthon, my buddy read with my students, and my own personal list. So I'm hoping that I will get a lot of time to read during February, and I am so excited. So if you'd like to come back and see more content, hit subscribe, give the video a like. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you guys again soon.